Well, good morning and welcome to the Sunday morning gathering for the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe-Truckee. It's July 30th, 2023, and we're having a special meeting today. A little bit of a service, but mostly we're going to be having a congregational meeting to find out what people want our center to be. Who are we? Who do we want to be? And so I'm welcoming you here this morning. I'm Reverend Pam Bramman. I'm the senior minister here at the center. And whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome here. We know there are many paths to God, but they all end in oneness and in love. We might remind everyone that our center's purpose is love. Our vision is embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. Please join me in our receptivity statement. I am here by divine appointment. Something I am about to hear applies to my life. I am open, receptive, and willing to explore the possibilities. So we're going to change the order up a little bit. We're going to start with the announcements, and only a few. So these are things that are coming up in the next week or so. And so we're going to have a hospitality potluck afterwards, a breakfast, so lots of goodies here. Please join us afterwards. And next Sunday, August 6th, we'll go back to our regular format. I'll be speaking on our new CSL theme for August, Awakening to Your Passion. Actually, this is kind of reversed. So the month service theme is My Passion, My Purpose, and I will be speaking on Awakening to Your Passion. The practitioner will be Brenda Heldorn, and the musician will be Caliani. Also, we have our e-bike groups that is meeting weekly this week on August 1st, Tuesday at 9 a.m. They're going to be going from Dollar Hill to Blackwood Canyon, so that'll be a beautiful ride. And there's a couple places that you can meet. You can look at this online or call Sue Piple for details. And then the final announcement this morning is to remind everybody about Asilomar. And that begins Tuesday, August 8th through Friday, August 11th at a beautiful Asilomar. It's a great time. This is the overall CSL organization that's meeting with great musicians and speakers and friendship and Asilomar, the ocean, and all those great things. So do that if you can. All right. So in opening, I'd like to shift to a reading for this morning. And it's a quote, it's setting up for our meeting. There we go. That we're having today. And we're really, there are changes in the air. You know, our tenant gave notice, now we're looking, okay, what do we want to be? What do we want to do with the building and ourselves? And so I chose this quote from Eckhart Tolle from The Power of Now. Every crisis represents not only danger, but opportunity. The opportunity that is concealed within every crisis does not manifest until all the facts of any given situation are acknowledged and accepted. As long as you deny them, as long as you try to escape from them or wish that things were different, the window of opportunity does not open up. So we are in the midst of opening up to that divine intention. So if you would go within with me. And so as we know that we are here in the presence of Spirit, filling this room, expressing itself in and through and as each one of us that is gathered here today, whether we are here in this center physically or online or joining in the recording afterwards. But it is all a part of God, and we know that the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe-Truckee is an expression of the divine. And so as we let go of our ego and our worldly intellectual thinking, we allow ourselves to go deeper into that presence, to that divine wisdom within us. And as we open up to it and let go and let God, clarity comes forward, new ideas come forward. The intention for our center, what is our next yet to be, is coming forward. And so I know as the board speaks, as all the preparations they've been going through to listen to Spirit and to speak and to ponder and to contemplate our future, they speak with clarity and with love and understanding and peace. I know that each person as they speaks today is here to represent their piece of the puzzle that is part of CSL Tahoe-Truckee. And their comments are spoken with clarity and with peace and with wisdom and received with understanding and gratitude. We all come together as one, as a whole center, as the whole of life itself, expressing it in this moment, in this day. I know that everything about this meeting today is blessed, all is good, and it is with deep gratitude that I release these words, knowing that it is already done and even greater. God is in charge. Spirit is in the house. And together we say, and so it is. All right. So I'd like to turn it over to our wonderful board practitioner, Penny Schuler, and she's going to fill us in on our turning point and what are the issues that are coming up.
Oh, it is on, right? Okay. As you know, I'm not a public speaker, so I'm like, oh. Anyway, I'm going to be reading because the board put together this after a lot of discussion. So all of this that I'll be reading and we'll be discussing is about the future of the center. So first I'd like to introduce the board. We have Sue Pipel, who's our secretary. Nancy O'Neill is member at large. Brenda Heldorn is our treasurer, and Reverend Pam is our minister, and I'm the president. So, okay. Like I said, I'm just going to be reading. We're at a turning point, and a lot of decisions have to be made. Before we make them, we want to hear from all of you. This is only an informational meeting. We won't be voting, and we'll continue to just keep gathering information, and we'll be back in touch with all of you. Our tenant did resign. He's under his lease until the end of December, so we will be able to make our mortgage payment because he did pay our mortgage for us. The building might be able to support us, and we're trying to see if that's an option we can make work. Our goal is to find a way to sustain ourselves financially, and that might best be accomplished by renovating the third floor or selling the building. The second floor. Thank you. We've contacted a realtor, and we've explored, like I said, leasing and selling. Financial stress. We can't always pay the minister, and the board does go home a lot of the times unable to sleep just with worry on the financial and where we're going as a center. So we've only got 5 people on a 7 board. We need 7, but we only have 5. So that's a small board. And, you know, it's not good the way I look at it. We need more input and support. The retreat this year got canceled because we only had 12 people sign up. And that was just another indication that we need to come together as a community and decide what we want this center to be. So, what kind of center do we want to be? What things are important to all of you? What do you want to participate in and financially support? What do you like about what's happening now at our center, and what don't you care for that's happening? And what would you like to see more of or less of? If we pull back and don't have a full-time minister, we have various options. What do you think about having a part-time minister? And that could be Reverend Pam or someone else. We could have visiting ministers. So the questions are you willing to step up, be more involved, financially support more, lead more? We need more leadership than just the board. If we don't have a full-time minister, I already said that. Do we want weekly gatherings, Sunday or midweek, or even in the evening? Do you want certified classes or study meetings? So these are a couple things we found out. A teaching chapter does not need a minister. There's a curriculum provided by home office, and it's like a book club. Practitioners could lead the meeting. Then we're thinking maybe we could be affiliated with the Reno Center in some way, offshoot. Then there's a spiritual living circle, and it does not need a minister or a practitioner. And then another question would be, how do you feel if the center closed completely? So that's what I have to say. I'd like input from the board. Sue, do you want to tell a little bit about what we found about the second floor?
So it's really too early for me to be specific about details, but we do have a very interested tenant, and the money would be really good for us. I mean, really good, like 3 times maybe the rent that we've been getting from the dentist. So 2 to 3 times, which means that if we were to take on a tenant like that, we could fund a lot of our programs and salaries and stuff from that rent. We currently have a mortgage of about $3,000, so it would pay the mortgage and then go a lot further. So that would be really, from the standpoint, I think, of all of us who've been kind of worrying about the center and running the center for the last couple of years, that would be great because we wouldn't have the financial stresses that we've been having. There's a lot to be done before we can get to a place where we could finalize this with this possible tenant, because we'd have to do a lot of work, and it might include adding sprinklers and things like that, which could be very expensive. So we're just exploring that, and it'll take a week or 2 for us to figure out whether it's possible. I just want to say, I feel very blessed about the 2 options that I see showing up in front of us. One is to keep the building with that tenant. The other one is to sell the building, and we will have made a very nice profit. And if we do that, we'll have a lot of money that we can use to run the center for the foreseeable short-term future. Like, we could fund a minister, programs, a part-time minister, whatever we decide we want to do, for maybe 5, 7 to 8 years until we run out of money, and then we are kaput, probably out of business unless things change and we get more members that could sustain a bigger center. So, but anyway, I feel like the thing a lot of the board members have been thinking is what we want the most is to be out of financial stress. And it seems like that's being delivered to us right now, which is really great. And I feel very happy about that. So.
I need to say something else. Many times we aren't able to pay Reverend Pam, and we've held many of her paychecks, which to me is so out of integrity. So I'm just really, I was actually relieved when the dentist gave his notice, thinking, okay, God, now we have to make some big changes. And I feel good about that. I don't feel the board could sustain the amount of involvement and all of that. So, with either option, there's going to be a lot of work. And it's, if we sell, we would have to find a new place. We'd have to break down this building, and then, like Sue said, the renovation upstairs, and there's permits and the parking lot. And so we don't know if it's, viable to do that. But we'll continue to find out the information and then come back to all of you again.
Well, I think what Sue forgot to say, though, is that the tenants upstairs would not be like a dentist. We know that he wanted to sell his practice, but he wasn't able to do that, so he retired instead. But we were told by the insurance. He did.
He sold his practice.
Oh, but we don't have.
But not to somebody who.
But not to anybody that was going to work up there.
Right.
I thought he moved to Dollar Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
All of his patients did.
He did.
Sold his practice to her.
Okay, go
Beside the point. We were told by a real estate agent that finding a commercial tenant is probably not going to happen. There's a lot of commercial space in Tahoe City and even into Kings Beach that a commercial tenants are very hard to come by right now. The other thing is if we decide to, the second floor would be for residential, is what we're talking about. That it and the third floor would be for residential to make it into either apartments or workforce housing in order to get the kind of rent that we need to be able to pay the mortgage on the whole building, and that will require a lot of,
No.
maybe not so much.
Yeah, yeah, I was just gonna say, the tenant that we're talking to would take on all management of the property. So we would not be like getting phone calls in the middle of the night, you know, the toilet's plugged up, that this is that, and whatever. So, and that's a concern that we have. And yes, frankly, all of us on the board have been on the board for a long time. I'm sorry. We've all been on the board for a long time, and I think a lot of us would like to have breaks, and we're tired of being the only ones who show up, do things, volunteer, run things. And so poor Pam has really not had anybody to implement any of her plans because, you know, we're all old, we're all tired. And, you know, she's had big intentions that there's just been nobody to follow through with. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you want to say something? Well, Brenda, you're the treasurer. I
Good
don't know
morning.
if people want to hear the finances.
Yeah, I don't, I think it's important. I'm looking around the room. I'm seeing the people that are here this morning, and I'm so grateful to see you. So, and I know that you don't attend board meetings, and you probably have no idea what those meetings are like or what they entail. But the bottom line is that the center, even prior to COVID, definitely through COVID and then post-COVID, we have not been financially sustaining the center. Every month this year, our expenses exceeded our income. And the way that we have reconciled this is by Reverend Pam volunteering to hold her paychecks and not cash them until such a time when the bank account could support that. So I don't. It's not my intention to get into the nitty gritty of this and that. I just want everyone to have an awareness that the center as a board and Reverend Pam as the minister and the leader of our community, we've been very frugal, and we've been very much in integrity with the resources of the community, and yet the contributions each month just are not sufficient to the costs of running this building. So just so you know, year to date, we are $39,221 below our budgeted expectation of where we would be. So that's just, it's just been such a blessing having a tenant on the second floor who has covered the mortgage. So the mortgage is always paid, the utilities are always paid, the lights are on, etc. But the shortfall always comes to the people and the person specifically, and it really should not be that way. So that's really what I wanted to say, is that it's not the individual people in our community, because all of the almost, I would I would say 99% of the people that participated in the pledge program are honoring or are current with whatever they've pledged. But the number of people who participated in the pledge program has diminished so greatly that it's not supporting the community. And that is where we are right now. So I will pass this to Reverend.
So, thank you, guys. I think, and for me, I think what's, we've got, there's so many alternatives that are all over the place that we could do with this. And it's easy to get, think yourself into a overwhelm. But I think it comes back to who do we want to be? And when we're clear on that with spirit, in that clarity, then the outer form will match and evolve to match that. And so that's where we need to start, and that's what's most important about this meeting today. I mean, there's some other alternatives that people have talked about. We've talked about there's some potential good income from residential. Where I've talked to the Mountain Housing Council about other ways of providing workforce housing. Sage Artist, who couldn't be here this morning, she's working, but she suggested that we could have a group housing with single moms and their kids, and they could share a kitchen and so forth to keep the cost down, and because that's been an important part of a lot of people's lives in our community. There's a sound healer that's looking for space, so that could be spiritual practices. And we've been talking about these things all along, trying to do all of this, but with COVID and everything, it's been slowly growing, but not, we can only go so long without things manifesting. And do we go to Truckee if we want to have more children and families, or do we want to be, smaller and be more spiritually centered? So all kinds of ways. So we really want to hear from you what you want, and and then Spirit will guide us on that path.
I just think this meeting is wonderful, just to let everyone know what's going on, the truth of the situation, because you can't make decisions either unless you know the truth. So we just wanted to be truthful and let you know how things have been for quite a while. So I would, hopefully there'll be some crosstalk, but I think we all have a lot to think about. What do we want this center to be? Personally, what do you want from this center, and what are you willing to invest? I mean, I think it's pretty simple. So I love the teaching. I love this center. But quite frankly, the financial stress of it has taken the joy away from me. So I'm really glad we're having this meeting and the input we'll be getting, because it's up to you as well, your members and friends. So we don't make the decision. We will definitely give you what we feel, but then it's up, to the members to vote. So at a later meeting. Yeah, well, not today. We're just giving you information. So is there anyone in the audience that has anything they'd like to say, or on Zoom? And you're going to, in the room, you're going to be using that. Michael, use the...
Well, I'm not going to say anything. I just like to suggest, just a suggestion to the board, that
You need a mic, so the people on Zoom can...
just a suggestion, rather than leaving it open to wide open questions about the finances or the building or this or the potential tenant, all of that, that we talk about what do we want to be.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I understand. So I'm just only suggesting that we emphasize to focus on that, so it doesn't get off track to all these other little details.
Thank you.
Okay.
want from the center.
You can stay in your chair if you want to. We'll bring the mic to you.
It seems to me over the years my contribution's always been kind of to just deal with the awkward pauses. When no one wants to get up, I'm always the one to get up and get started. I think I go back to the original statement here, the prayer. Until we have all the facts and information, it's pretty hard to really form an opinion, you know. I mean, if this tenant who wants to come in here, the question is how long will it take for that person to make a decision whether they want to move forward? I can't make a decision.
Know what you want the center to do.
Well, I want to have a center that, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, and, you know, I would volunteer to be more on the board if I wasn't gone most of the year. But I like the idea of seeing my old friends on Sundays and having an inspiring sermon that lifts me up for the day and or the week. And I used to take a lot of classes, and I think it's hard to give up on a bunch of friends you've had for 20 years sharing the same vision. I mean, I was a recovering Catholic for years. When I found this place, it was you know, what I was looking for. And I still read, you know, all winter long. I still practice science of mind when I'm down in Mexico, and it's changed my life. I think it's really worthwhile keeping the center. What I would like to see is us keep the building, because I don't think buildings, I mean, I just sold a house in record time, and there's nothing to buy up here. This place is only going to go up in value. I think the idea of putting a bunch of mothers and their kids in a building in this site is not the best way to do this. I mean, if there's some wealthy person that wants to turn this into 1 or 2 residences with this view and this location, that makes the most sense for getting the most income out of the building. I'd love to see the building paid for so that we basically have a net loss. We don't have any loss keeping it sitting here ready, waiting for things to change. I mean, Pam and Michael might want to do something different someday. We can't always count on the same, obviously, based on the experience of the last 20 years. We've gone through some ministers. People change. Life circumstances change. They lead lives that are just as normal as everybody else, you know, with stress and kids living somewhere else, or maybe they're fed up with the traffic here too, like everybody else is lately. But this has been a real base for me, you know, and I keep tithing probably more than the average person, even though I'm not here, because I feel the teaching itself has been what has made a difference to me. No matter whether we have a son or not, I will always support Science of Mind for what it's done for my life. So I'd like to keep a center going where we have Sunday meetings, and I mean, I know it's a lot of work for the hospitality thing and everything. It doesn't have to be that involved, but it's when I'm here, I like to come to church. If you ask me what I want, I like to come to church on Sunday. The Zoom thing does not do it for me. I'm sorry, it doesn't, but it just doesn't, you know. I'm not a real computer guy. Anyway, for now, hope that gets the conversation going a little better, but if not, that's what I'd like to see. So.
Can I just say that as I look around the room, I see so many different faces with different levels of involvement, different ages, different whatever. I think it'd be really great if everybody who feels comfortable could go up and give some of their thoughts, because I think we're going to have very different opinions or different ideas from everybody. So, you know, please share with us. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Deborah, and I really felt that resonation as far as Science of Mind and what it's done in my life in the last 9 years since I found the Centers for Spiritual Living. And I had my most involvement over in Sierra Center for Spiritual Living, and since the Reverend just recently changed to Reverend Julia, and I've been to some of the committee meetings there where we're talking about what we can do on the property, gardens, and then all those things happen there. You know, I've heard, I haven't. You know, I really feel the non-attachment bringing me peace. Like, you know, I don't have to control the outcome. It can unfold and naturally become what it's supposed to be, and having that faith in that. But at the same time, there is a lot of having a jewel and having, you know, a property and the mortgage and the building. over in Truckee, for goodness sakes, was a place for like, I don't know, like 15 years or so, and it carried. And we can see where the real life things come into play, where things have to be covered. There have to be enough people there to fill the vessel and get the needs met and get the thing running. So for me, the group consciousness of the Centers for Spiritual Living hold a lot for me. And I also kind of nomadic, so I like to go to the Oakland Center, really inspire me, these and I think letting it go and seeing what the next generation is, and teaching and forming it and doing what we do to push it into that. I don't know what that is, you know. I'm grateful for the ambassador program and those kind of things with the center, and just giving it love and light. I'm grateful to be here and just to be brought to attention, what need to get met, and what we're all doing here and the reality of things. So thank you for letting me come up and talk.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Deborah.
Where's the Sierra Center? Is that in Truckee?
Is in Grass Valley.
Grass Valley.
Yeah.
QB.
Well, I think it's really great that we've finally taken some time to look at the pressures that people are experiencing trying to keep the building, and that change that came along with the dentist giving up his lease. It was probably we call it a gift in disguise. It seems like we kind of got kicked in the backside, but by the same token, sometimes we need a good kick, or at least a nudge. For me, coming up here and being with all of you has been really fantastic, but that doesn't mean that we can't survive in a different form. A teaching circle or whatever would be great. Like Deborah, I'm nomadic. I have the desire to spend more time with my native people. They're like my family, as are you. And so I'm not attached to keeping this building, and I think it's been an albatross around our neck. My inclination is to let it go and have the center morph into its next natural life. Thank you.
I think Shirley just said what this Shirley feels too. I was on the board for 4 years, and actually I retired because I didn't like the meetings. They were kind of depressing to me. The money problem always came up, and it made me feel kind of hopeless, or just hoping something else would happen. And so I'd like to say right out that I'm not interested in saving the building. I think that's always been something that, okay, well, how do we do it? We don't have enough money. The people are not coming. And I felt really bad about Reverend Pam not being able to cash her paychecks. She works 80 hours a week. So, give me a break. She has done way over what most ministers would do. And it's just because basically it comes down to the financial problem, but also that we don't have that many people showing up. And every time Reverend Pam would say, now we need somebody to do this committee, and it's like, well, these are the people that are doing everything, and I don't want to be the committee member or anything, or leader. So anyway, I'd like to see what opens up for us to be in a different form, like Shirley was saying. I think it'd be wonderful if we could rent a place or a small place where everybody could meet and not have to worry about all of the mortgage and everything like that. Maybe I'm being too simplistic about it, but I really would be open to finding another place to meet. Thank you.
I just want to say that the reason we bought a building was because of our dear friend Pat Tidy, who willed us her home. So that's what she wanted, and that was sitting, waiting. And so that was always in the back of our mind that we need to fulfill her promise. That was a huge gift she gave us. So, just to keep that in mind too. So we fulfilled that promise to Pat. We bought this building. And that's just something I wanted to remind everyone. It wasn't that, maybe we wanted to have our own place, but it was, for me, it was because of Pat Tidy, to fulfill her wish for us. That's why she, willed us her home.
So I really like a lot of the points that people have been brought up so far. I think Bob had a great point about the investment of the building, where the property is just going to grow in value if you look at just the way that things are going in the area. But at the same time, we can't be letting ourselves get distracted by the building. It's just a building. If we can find another place to meet, that'd be great, but we need to find that place. And that could be a great thing. It could be somewhere in Tahoe City where we're growing, and it could be in Kings Beach. But the community is around the lake. It's not in Truckee. It's not in, it's just a lakeside community. That's kind of the way it is. So for what I would want, I would just want there to continue to be a spiritual center, wherever that might be. But at the same time, I don't want to have the board and everyone overburdened with, tasks that they just can't accomplish. So just know that everything will work out for the best.
Hi. I was going to wait to get up, but Adam just made some very, very good comments that brought myself to attention that I wanted to address. And I know part of what we want to be each individually in this room, maybe some people outside this room, for ourselves, and that's fine. And I can see some continuity there. But I think about the name of the center is Tahoe-Truckee, and when I first knew Liz from Southern California, and knew that she came up to this area, and she was the minister of a center, CSL Tahoe-Truckee. My first thought was, oh, it's in Truckee. Everything up here in Truckee, and even in Reno, a lot of things start with the word Tahoe, because Tahoe is the physical attraction internationally around the world, and so on, and so it helps marketing. But I really, from a business standpoint and from a logical standpoint, I thought, oh, the center must be in Truckee. That's where the town is. That's where a cohesive, vibrant community is, where the schools are, where active business, where the attraction of the old town is really almost at any time of year is busy. It doesn't have to be on weekends. Doesn't just have to be in the summer. So to me, future for a CSL Tahoe-Truckee that served Truckee needed to involve Truckee, whether it was physically in Truckee or near Truckee or whatever. We know all the infrastructure constraints during the winter and the summer with traffic. I get it. However, I personally feel that in terms of the larger community, if we're going to include Truckee, is Truckee. How does Centers for Spiritual Living serve the Truckee community, including North Lake Tahoe? I'm not taking that away, but I see personally, the long-term future outside of the next 5 to 10 years that selling the building and the funds provide. Yes, they can support a small center service individually, have circles, have this, have that. But if we really want to serve the larger Truckee Tahoe community, that's something to consider for long term. And certainly the assets in the building, long term, not necessarily right away, but just in terms of one of the possibilities is that there could be an endowment or something of that nature that could be considered that could look at the long-term future. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And personally, I'm definitely in favor of selling the building. I think to keep the building and the cost of maintenance, the cost of management, the cost of all of that, even though there may be people that will come in and develop workforce housing, yeah, they'll manage those people. But they're still on, it's still on site. It's still ongoing. There's still the larger maintenance improvements and taxes and so on for the building. The other thing I thought about a lot in terms of what I would personally want, and I thought at one time when Pam and I came up here and we met with the board and we fell in love with the board, we love this community, we love the people, and the opportunity appeared at that time that this was going to be a growing center with a lot of activity, would bring in more in Kings Beach, as Adam mentioned, and Tahoe City and Truckee. And we had Reverend Rick, who lived in Truckee, and I thought that there would be potential opportunity there to really develop something of an opportunity in Truckee to serve that community jointly with this community. Because people in Truckee love Lake Tahoe too, obviously. They come down here, they love it, and so on and so on, but they live in Truckee. And their families in Truckee, and their kids are in Truckee, and their grandkids, and so on and so on. But I wanted to be a part of a growing, vibrant community, and I know Reverend Pam did too. So one other opportunity that I think it came up, someone mentioned a Reno affiliation where you could serve the immediate spiritual needs of the people who are in this room and some of us, the senior citizens that are in this room for some period of time. But there could be if you will, an affiliation with Reno CSL, which is obviously much larger, and they're in a city and surrounding cities of 1 million people. So I see lots and lots of opportunity for growth in Reno, and there could be an affiliation there, and it could be a greater connection to the overall CSL organization by that. They have 25 practitioners, and 10 or 12 of them very, very active and providing their services, and among other things, and a men's group, and this, that, and so on. So anyway, I think that's something for either individually or for this center to consider as we think and talk and explore over the next few months. I'm not going to say much more about the details of the possibilities of keeping the building and renovating this, that, or the other thing. I can do that later. That seems to be a direction that we'll really go into. I have some concerns about that.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
Justin would like to make a comment.
Hello, hello all. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Oh, great, good. Oh, I miss you all. Haven't seen you all in a long time. But I miss it, and I wanted to make the Center for Spiritual Living even better, and I thought I wrote down a few things that I've been thinking about, and I think I would like to see more, middle-aged men and women join the center. So thought I'd add a couple things to say that first of all, we're having difficulties driving there. So the 30-40 minute commute is just, it's been tough to get there for the driving. And so that's kind of where I lean, is I resonated with a lot of what Michael was saying about Truckee. And so I obviously live in Truckee. I live in Donner Lake, so it's a drive for us. And I would love to see more new thought in Truckee, or the Center for Spiritual Loving in Truckee. Even if it's a bi-weekly thing, if we do I could see, I think I was going to say, that's kind of like my timing is like, I could see myself coming every 2 weeks and also volunteering at different times. So I thought that was good for you to hear what involvement I would be willing to put in. But I wrote down, oh yeah, every 2 weeks I thought would be good. One time in Truckee and one time in Tahoe City, if we kept the building. I wrote down the possibility of a outdoor outdoor session. And I don't know if that could bring in more people during the summer, and it could cost a lot less than renting a building. Maybe we could find an outdoor theater in some way to have a to at least try to draw in some more people in from Truckee in the short amount of time. I also would love to see a men's group. There's not a lot of support for men in the area, and I would just really love to see a men's group that meet bi-weekly somewhere. Childcare, it would be important to me and to others, I believe. So I think by offering some sort of childcare, that would be really wonderful. And then I also said I'm not attached to the building either. I am okay with selling the building. I think it's nice. I just think the location is just could be hurting us. Yeah, being that a lot of the residents in the area are not full-time. And there's not a lot of middle-aged people in that area, that would be attending. So maybe we could reach out, get more middle-aged men or women from Truckee to attend if we had services in Truckee. No, I don't. I think I was going to add, I think music is very important. I think by having some sort of musical entertainment on those days, and loud, good, solid, clear music is important to a center. Yeah, those are the kind of things that I had written down and wanted to share. But yeah, miss seeing you all. No, I can't hear anyone.
Can you flip the other switch? Hi. Hi. For those who don't know me, I'm Rick Carney. I'm the minister who lives in Truckee. And it's interesting how Spirit works because I had many, many, many of these same ideas myself several years ago. When we made the move from Tahoe City to here, I thought to myself, wow, we lost an opportunity. You know, we got ourselves situated in Carnelian Bay, which is a lovely place, and it's a lovely facility we have, but nobody knows about it. What would it be like if we had something going on in Truckee? I said to myself. And so as part of my minister training, I actually had to do a project, like what would your dream center look like? And part of that, with a lot of visioning and a lot of research, I discovered that Truckee was some place that could work. Because at that time, there was a nonprofit organization that owned a building that welcomed spiritual groups, for goodness sake, somebody mentioned earlier. It relied exclusively upon, well, I take that back. 99% of the funding came from a wealthy philanthropist whose wife was much into religious without affiliation, or excuse me, spiritual without affiliation, and I'll get back to that in a minute. And this person bought a building in the heart of downtown Truckee, paid for the staff, paid for the lights, paid for the insurance, paid for the whole shoot and match. I worked there myself for a while, and this was pre-COVID, and we started doing things there, holding Wednesday evening sessions, which was focused on science of mind, and people started showing up. We started doing classes up there, and people started showing up. And then COVID came along, and everything went crashing down. I left, for goodness sake, at that point, and took a different direction. But I did take a look at the facts. The facts that Truckee does have more than 17,000 people in their zip code. The fact that the population of Truckee is rather young, in the 30s, and I think that's kind of skewed by the ski crowd and summertime crowds. I did see that the average income of Truckee was, well over $100,000, and that the amount of charity provided by the people of Truckee was well over 150% of the national average. So people there were willing to give to charities, give to church organizations, give to where their hearts led them. But I also found out something else, that the demographics are changing, the social structure is changing. The biggest group at this point are those who consider themselves spiritual but not religious. That's growing, while church attendance everywhere is down. And that's a trend that's been going on for over 10 years, and it's going to continue. Because the people in Truckee and the people, in our cities are on their iPhones and on their laptops and choosing not to associate with a group. I have daughters in this age group, so I can speak to this from, personal knowledge, that the group we're talking about are much more likely to be drop-ins to a church service, then they become a member of a church. They simply have so much going on in their lives right now, they feel like they can't join into another thing because they have soccer practice and basketball practice and swim team and this and that. I know, because I hear about it every week when I speak to my daughters. Now, I don't know how that will influence our plans for the future, but I do suggest that we look at alternative ways of doing things to include something that is a bit less structured, perhaps, or at least have a different option than we currently have. And that some of those happen outside of Carnelian Bay, wherever that might be. Thank you.
Okay, do I have to say that?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you spotlight her? We can see her better.
Well, it was great to hear from each person that shared. I mean, really good. And thank you so much. Thank you, board members, each one, for all that you have done and all you're doing. And you're really tired and you're still showing up. And that shows a lot of love and a lot of dedication. So thank you. And Rick, I loved what you shared, and I really love how you shared it. Thank you. I guess I have just some ideas to share. The original question was along the lines of what do I see the center being, or what would I hope it to be? And my initial response to that question was just for it to be what it already is. It just feels a little unblossomed. You know, it hasn't really come into its own, but it is very, everything is there that's needed. And so then I take stock of what we have, and we have a building that is undergoing a change, and grateful for the little shift that is happening for us together and individually to see the possibilities, like Rick was saying. And I totally agree that a creative, non-traditional way of looking things, just at things, just kind of expanding our vision a little bit, could really serve us well right now. So we have the building right now in flux. And just one passing thought, and it may or may not make sense, is to just put a news flash out to the existing nonprofit the Community Collaborative in Truckee, the Parasol Foundation in Incline Village, Truckee Tahoe Community Foundation, the civic organizations that know us and that we know, the Boys and Girls Club, whom we've supported in the past, and just let them know that at the very least, space at the lake is coming available soon. And it sounds like so far, almost everybody has said that they see the space as being selling and a possible relocation. But what if we just put the word out in a very open-ended way, just to see if this building is the answer to someone's prayer, especially someone who is supportive in the community, service-oriented, even aligning with CSL. So that could take all of about, 10 or 15 minutes to compose and just send it out to the directors of these groups and organizations and collaboratives. So that's one thought. And the purpose for that would just be to cast our bread on the waters and see if there are any connections to be made that could lead to something that could lead to something that could really blossom us out. So that was one thought. I like what Justin was saying about outdoor areas. There is that barbecue area along the river in Truckee. I know that I've been involved in some group things there that have been pretty fun. Chris also taught some Tai Chi classes after he stopped teaching it. For goodness sake, we met at the river. So that's kind of a cool suggestion. And yeah, Chris and I are both really familiar with Truckee. It feels good. One thought that I have seen in other areas of the country work really well is when two spiritual communities use the same building. I've been in churches that have done that super successfully, as well as you know, AA meeting there and other, you know, addiction recovery groups and things like that. So that not only minimizes the expenses, but it kind of models how open we are and cooperative and supportive we are of other communities and ways of seeing things and so forth. So when we lived in Truckee, I think it was that period before Easter, there was about a half a dozen churches that used to get together at the senior center, and they would have joint services. And it's my impression, and actually I met some people there who were very new thought, and they just kind of showed up because it was cool that everybody was getting together. So I would say there's at least a half a dozen churches who are progressive enough to possibly welcome an opportunity to have another spiritual community sharing their building. So we wouldn't meet Sunday mornings, we'd meet Sunday afternoons or something like that. Saturday nights, maybe. We could be the Saturday night church or community. So those are just some ideas that have come to mind. And I would say at this time, what seems to me to be the most important is that we keep our energy really high. And we see this crisis. A friend of ours was saying that the Chinese kanji for crisis and opportunity, it's the same thing, just like this quote that Reverend Pam read at the beginning. Just help those who are weary, lift up their hands, and however I can do that from where we are, I'm available, and we love you all very much. And I honestly don't feel like our identity as a community is an extension of the Reno CSL, and we like them a lot, but we feel really different than Reno CSL. I mean, in my perspective, there's something really homey and special and very family feeling about CSL TT. And that's, I think that we're here to be of service, to embody and to model and serve and extend this beautiful gift that we've been given, of the boundaries coming down, and the everywhere presence, being here as each one of us. It's really special, and people are really hungry for this and searching. And that's why For Goodness Sake was thriving for so long, because it responded to a need, and it was ideally situated. And there's a lot of really good things going on there. And I guess my personal vision of CSLTT is a little like being like For Goodness Sake, at its best, and being very welcoming and being tuned in to the needs in the community and the needs that kind of ripple out from the community. and CSL, being just a bright beacon, to respond to those needs and to welcome, people who just need encouragement and need connections, need reminders, and those sort of things. So I'm really grateful that this conversation is happening and that things are shifting, and that we're all hanging in through this together. Thank you.
Being I'm here with Colleen, I thought I'd speak up. I mean, there's so many ideas going around. And Colleen, I think you have some great ideas. As a matter of fact, we looked into some of those ideas a long time ago, joining another center or another church in their building or our building. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about the Episcopal Church in Tahoe City. I think they have quite a small congregation. I don't even know if they're still in business, so to speak. And I did want to thank everybody on the board for all the work. I know it's tough. I'm sorry I'm not close enough to be of assistance in that respect. But I was wondering, Colleen, when you were talking about a center, like For Goodness Sake, would we have a minister, or would we just be a center open to people to come in? I think it's a good idea that it could be, it could work. And of course, I like the way it is now. And, because I'm used to it. I've been involved for many years. And, I don't know, I'm trying to think of what, I've spoken to a few people who aren't here. One, Kathy Mattery, who said she was interested, she's been planning on coming back to the church, but this Sunday she's not available. And she was concerned about the center having more debt. And I'm in agreement with that. I have a connection with that myself. And so I don't think it's wise, but Nancy informed me we do have some kind of extension. I'm not sure, nobody's talked about that yet, about $90,000. I don't know what that is. And then Brian and Linda Zimmer, I don't know if they're on today. I don't see them. Brian said that the Santa Rosa Church was saying that they didn't know if they could make it to the end of the year. So it's a big center, and we know, the minister there is, is much involved in the Center for Spiritual Living. And so I think, of course, they have a bigger area to cover, a bigger building, more expenses. So it's a similar situation, but just on a different scale. So I hate to say that this is the way the churches are going, but, it just appears to be that way. And I don't know if COVID had it. So I have positive feelings about us being able to do something. And, if it's Truckee, that I think that's great. And also the ages of a lot of us, it's confining to, and it would be like Justin was saying, to have, he said middle-aged, but also, even younger, is great. I just love to have all the different ages. And I know Reverend Pam would like to have the children's church. And I think a lot of us would like that too. It's just difficult. We have our sweet little girl there today. And so anyway, I love everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, I just want to address the other part of financial situation. When we refied the mortgage on the building, we took out an additional amount for the purpose of securing a minor use permit that would allow us to redo the parking lot and would give us a sign permit to put a large sign out. We haven't spent much of that money. Most of that, about $90,000 of that, is still in the building fund. So there is money already to do some renovations if that's the direction that the center chooses to go. I wanted to just add a little bit of perspective to the conversation quickly, because I know we're pretty much out of time. But when we purchased this building, and we already had a tenant on the second floor, that was really a perfect scenario for us, because if we had chosen not to purchase the building and we would have had to go out and pay rent, this community would have gone under long, long ago, because the money in the building fund was earmarked specifically for owning a building. We wouldn't have been able to use it, and the population and the contribution of the community has never been sufficient to the expenses of the community. So I just wanted to put that in perspective.
And actually, I'm going to change mics. Because I want to speak as Sue Pipel, not a board member. And Justin, when did you become middle-aged? That's
I look young.
Now I kind of forgot the topic I got up here for. Speaking of, yeah.
The finances for the building and the.
Yeah, one of my concerns about if we do sell the building, we'll probably end up having less than $1 million, but $800,000. So, which is, sounds like a lot of money. But the thing is, rents up here are very expensive. So for us to go out and rent a meeting space is probably going to cost, $2,500 minimum, $3,500 a month. So by the time, and if we're going in the hole each month, it's a finite thing. It sounds like, oh, we have so much money, we could do whatever we want. And that's true. We could do whatever we want for a period of time. I've always looked at this building as the potential to carry the church, and unfortunately we just haven't used it that way up until now. We've had the third floor vacant, which could have been rented out, and now that we're looking at what we could be getting for rent for that, I mean, that could have been the difference since we've owned the building. That could have kept us flush every month all of this time. So I see, just from a pure business standpoint, holding on to the building at least for a while. I mean, we can sell it anytime we want, but it just seems like a smart business decision to me to hold on to the building and let the building fund us. Let the building bring in the money to cover all of the things that we would love to do, to hire a babysitter for Sundays, to fund the programs that we want. And, and it doesn't mean, if we keep the building, it doesn't mean that. I mean, I kind of just fell in love with Colleen's idea of using that barbecue area in Truckee in the summertime to do, maybe we could do a lot of services in Truckee there, or whatever kind of meetings. But it doesn't mean that we couldn't expand who we are, but the building could give us a solid base, and an income. Maybe. And I'm just saying the word maybe because there's a lot of things that would have to be worked out. Funding this permit, do we have to put in sprinkler systems? There's a lot that has to be looked into. But I also want to say that I'm personally willing to do a lot of that. So, because I know a lot of people feel overwhelmed, like, oh, that's so much work. But I'm going to manage the renovations. I already have couple of contractors on board if we go that way. So anyway, those are the things that I'm thinking about the building personally, not as a board member.
Hello. In some ways, I felt called to another congregation, and I feel like I don't even have a right to speak here, but I love this place. I love all of you. I love parties. I loved our talent show. That's like my favorite thing that we have ever done. It was it in the winter? No. Yeah, I think you read. You read. And I even ran into Bill at Rayleigh's last week. He's still talking about it. He's still talking about that. Yeah, it was here. Anyway. Yeah, you read something. You read like a Science of Mind thing. But I just want to say, we are the creators. We created this building. I love stories. I love the magic that Pat Tidy loved this place and gave her home. I love that Sue and was it Shelley? No, Sherry. Like completely devoted a year of their lives just to this renovation. So lovingly done, so beautifully, elegantly, sweetly done. It's a very beautiful space that we created. If there's a possibility, if it was your own home, you would never say, "Oh, I'm just going to sell my home and go, you know, pitch tent," or I'm going to be free. Although, it doesn't prevent us. We can always do Zoom communities. My main spiritual connection right now is a global Zoom community. So those things aren't, but when we say, what do we want to be? I think it's important to look at what will we be with the building, what will we be without a building? Those are just those are what we are looking at in terms of the life of the center. In terms of financially, it's obvious. You have a prime piece of real estate that has, like who would do that? Who would just throw away a prime piece of real estate? That especially, because I've always wondered about that third floor. Anyway, I just wanted to say that we are able to create whatever we desire and whatever we keep our intention on. And that's the most important part. If we want this to become a thriving building, we see it as that. We speak of it as that. We feel the energy of that. We live in that. We believe in it. Then that is what will be, because we are the portal. We are the force field. That the particles configure around. So that's my part.
No. Well, things come up. I got up first, so a lot of stuff has occurred to me. I just want to contribute anything else that comes up. I'm trying to think about human nature. Like the difficulty of getting people out of their cars, not wanting to drive. I'm very impressed with Colleen and Chris, that they come so far to come to church here. I mean, they drive really far away. Brenda does too. But I go, a lot of people. I mean, I go back to the idea of opportunity. We're science of mind people. There are no problems. There are only opportunities. So, and things have changed, but we need to look at God is our source, and God can provide pretty much. I mean, my life, just as living proof of how easy it is to manifest things and have what you want, and yet I sometimes forget, even though I'm a science of mind guy, that I'm dealing with all these doctors and specialists, and one of our principles is that we have the power within us, with our own mind, to cure ourselves. I need to spend more time doing that and less on other things that are distracting. But I think that the idea of having to move our activities to Truckee is probably the smart thing to do, because that's where the growth is. You need population to sustain a congregation. I think that this building is, having just sold a house in record time and understanding what's going on in the market up here, we'd be too hasty to get rid of this building. It's a possibility of an endowment for the rest of time to pay for our activities, whether they're here or not. There are people who do event planning up here more and more because of all the conferences and things. What if an event planner had a contract with us to use the office space and provide this to us on Sundays? I don't like the idea of an outdoor barbecue facility, because winter comes. You get people established showing up. There's an outdoor church in Kings Beach that's right there. You drive by, it's all seats outside, and they have a thriving thing in the summertime for a couple of months. The rest of the time, it's just a dead piece of property. Nobody sits out there when it's cold and windy and snowy, so I don't like that idea much. What's that? What's that?
Are you sure the electric bill got paid?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it got paid. I wonder what happens to all the money if we sell the building. What does it do? Go into a trust, and who's in charge of that? Who is?
We've got answers to all that.
You got all that, okay? Because I think it would be wise until we have all our facts in and have a little more discussion with this potential client, whoever it is. Who, it sounds like he wants to, or they want to make a residence of the second floor.
They want dorms for the.
Yeah, I think stuff on the water is so valuable for in terms of income that it's not the best place to put a bunch of financially challenged people right on the water. It's just you could get so much more for it from some wealthy person who wants to have a home here, even if they're not here all the time. It's just a piece of real estate. It's a building in a great location right across the ocean, the road from a beach, you know, and the view. And so if you want to turn it into a vehicle for paying for our activities and funding us, that's a better way to go than to get into all the politics of workforce housing and daycare on site and everything else. It's just very complicated. So I would love to see a way to have us. Another thing, talking about opportunity, we've missed a huge opportunity. I mean, for goodness sakes, just went out of business. How many people are in Truckee hurting like we are, wondering what to do with themselves and how to get together? That would have been the time to have had a big giant meeting of all the congregations and everybody who used, and it's maybe not too late, and say, we know we're all missing having that facility in downtown Truckee. We're calling a general meeting at the Kiwi Club or whatever, any place, to get a bunch of people together who all want to come and brainstorm about how we can get together. Because if we had 6 congregations all sharing, there wouldn't be any financial burden. And they could take turns using the service. You know, years ago, one of our big opportunities, and it might still be there, was the Jewish community built a beautiful facility off, National Avenue, and because of their religious, they don't use a church on Sunday. They use it on Friday or Saturday, right?
Yeah, we have a lot going on.
Yeah, well, we should be able to share a parking facility is the biggest problem. That's why it makes sense to talk to them about what are their needs right now. Are they interested in having us come in and use the place on Sunday and pay them some rent? But I would not give up this building while there's still an opportunity to make it into an income-producing endowment forever. Because like you said, if you sell it, you're going to run out of the money in 5 or 6 years. And how are we going to spend it? You know, I used to contribute regularly to the building fund, so I'm glad to hear it hasn't been tapped into for other things. I'm glad it's still sitting there because that's enough to turn the 2 top floors probably into rentable spaces if you wanted to do that. But if someone wants to buy it and put the money in and take over all the expenses, as long as we can still use the downstairs and pay a reasonable rent or make that part of the deal. You know, when I sold the wellness center, I didn't charge as much as I could have, but I got free lifetime care every week. I get a free treatment. There's lots of people that will trade you for consideration. But don't give up the building. Don't get into outdoor places that have to be changed in the winter. Consider going to Truckee for activities. I would really urge us to get together with all the remnants of everybody who used, for goodness sake. Maybe Rick can help us with that over there, and see what we could do. It like somebody earlier mentioned, it's an opportunity. You know, change is good. Sometimes we need a kick in the butt to change, but change is always good. Change is how you grow, and we're not growing. We're diminishing. I've loved this place for 20 years, but there's just nobody coming anymore. And even on Zoom now, it's less than. I mean, I'm glad to see more people in the room than were on Zoom for once, but Zoom is not the way to build a community. You need contact. You need socialization. That's what we've all loved about our friendships here. So, just me talking more, trying to keep it going here, but anyway, for what it's worth.
The mask, I was exposed, I don't have it. So I'm just being conservative. Ever since I've been a part of this community, which I think has been 25 years, we have been trying to grow just the numbers. And I came with absolutely no ideas at all, just waiting to hear what people said. But I'm inclined to think that a move to Truckee would be good. There is a larger community to draw from there. And I think that that's what we really need. We really need more people. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say is that I, for one, have not been coming since COVID. I'm tired. You guys, I can't imagine. And I think that that's an element that we really need to take into consideration, that those that have been deeply involved have are tired, and we're getting older, and our thoughts, mine anyway, are going haywire, and we just really can't depend on these people in the same way that we have. You can't depend on me.
I just wanted to say one thing to remember. We only have the dentist until the end of December. Then we don't have that income coming in. So we're in a time crunch. We're trying, there aren't a lot of months to get things accomplished. So just keep that.
But can you tap the $90,000 paying mortgage payments? That's still building funds.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I wanted to add a couple things to other things that people have said on with regards to, for goodness sake, when they closed. We went and talked to them about, could we merge somehow, accommodate them. We looked at, could we buy that building as an alternative, and it was not a good investment because it's a railroad lease. And so they owned the building, but there was a $5,500 a month lease payment, goes on forever to the railroad. So that made it not a good buy. All of their, as Rick said, all of their money came from the philanthropist couple that had passed away, and so they were in dire financial straits. And we tried to get them to move their programs down here, and we had one group, a book study came down. They met with us twice. The second time was a horrible construction traffic day, and they said, this is too far, too long, goodbye. And so we couldn't get the Truckee people to drive down here, and they had already, also with COVID, they had gone online. So but I think, if we do go there's a bunch of people that might be willing to have some kind of thing. So maybe even if we split our time between here and Truckee, that might be a way to do something. And the other thing is about this building, and so there's we love this building. This is such a beautiful space. There's been so much heart and soul that's been put into it. And so it's really hard to separate out all of that love from, it's just a building, and, how do we do that? And one thing we need to keep in mind is we've got the $90,000 that we've had left was supposed to pay for the parking lot and the permit and stuff like that. So we still, in order to get our minor use permit and have a sign, so we can legally be here as a religious center, we need to finish the conditions of that minor use permit. So that would include redoing the parking lot. We need to have 13 parking spaces. There needs to be some grading, the BMPs. Our sewer line needs to be replaced. That's $40,000 by itself. So it's about $120,000 for the exterior plus the part from the sewer. That's $160,000 plus whatever we do on the third floor and the second floor. So if we do stay here, we need to do it right. Even we might do it over time, but we need to do it right to stay here. And so we need to look at that as part of what's required to stay here. And there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also some upfront costs that will require additional fundraising. So just to keep our eyes open.
Can we get a equity loan on the building? Do we have enough? That's what we did. Take out a construction?
Well, that's what we did. And so right now, when we refinanced it, because the interest rates were so low, that's why the rent from the second floor now covers our mortgage. So anything else would be additional money would have to come out of our weekly cash flow.
Yeah, just to clarify a couple things. First of all, as far as additional loan on the equity, that's came to my mind too. But to actually realistically get additional funds, it would require personal guarantees. No bank in the world would give us money, especially without a tenant that was paying the mortgage. However, if there's people in this room would provide personal guarantees, it might be feasible. Second of all, when I talked about the building as an asset, many of us have talked it, looking at it from a fuel a business standpoint. My vision was is a one possibility. If there is 8 or 900,000 in equity, that money could go into a trust or an endowment and could produce anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 a month for ongoing needs, whatever they might be, and the endowment and the principal would continue to be there for whatever might happen in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So that's kind of it would be a near-term opportunity. It wouldn't just go away. I would not suggest it just be petered away either over the next 5 to 7 years just to maintain this little community, pay for the bill. To me, we need to look at the larger vision that we've all talked about, and I'll just leave it at that.
Anything on Zoom? Any comments? There's a much appreciation to Sue and the board for thoroughly exploring the tenant income producing possibilities. Jim Eaglesmith says that his heart is with everyone. He took notes and will share with Reverend Pam soon. Nice. Thank you. Well, we just want to thank you all for being here. It's an ongoing process. We'll keep doing our diligence work. You'll have to speak into the mic, sorry. Sorry. I said I just want to thank everyone for being here. It means a lot. This is your center, and we can't do it alone. So, moving forward, I still would like to see, these are great comments, and it gives us all a lot to think about. I'd still like to, like Justin said, if we were in Truckee, he would step up and, do certain things. So it's going to take all of us, not just the board, to move forward. So I'm just reiterating that again, that we need help. We can't do this alone. But I really, as you know, love everyone here and this center and the board, special group of people. So I know that, as we move ahead, God's with us. It's all going to be perfect. I know that, and I'm excited, actually. I'm tired, but excited. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, board.
And if anybody wants to join us on the board, we're looking for more victims.
No. Dedicated people. Okay, so we have, let's see, it is now 11:40. And so we had planned kind of a closing that was more like normal. So we were going to have an offering. And so we're going to, I think we're going to just, we've got the baskets. Shall we just put the basket out and people can,
Yeah, we'll just have
right?
the baskets.
We'll just have the basket. So let's just say, you know what, let's do our, can we get the slide up of the affirmation? We're just going to do the affirmation, no music or anything with it. There we go. All right, so if you would hold your offering, and this is your financial offering, your offering of your time and your love and your leadership to this center. And if you repeat with me, in everything I give thanks. I gratefully and joyfully share my offering, which flows from God, my infinite source. My gift blesses this center and all who are guided, healed, and empowered by its activities. And so we have, thank you for everyone that's doing this. Thank you for the board. They have been, they put in so many hours and ideas in their heart and soul, and you that have been here in the past, every single one of you has made a contribution in this center. So thank you for all of you. Thank you for the people that brought all the food. Thank you to Spirit for being all of it. And we have our affirmation to close with. If we would all stand. All right, and repeat together. Shall we hold hands for this one? I think so. We are one. Okay. All right. Okay, if you would read with me. I take time to listen to Spirit